if sine of theta is equal to 2/3 and theta is in quadrant 2, what is the sine of theta over 2? Well, so this is the given information, and this is what we want to find, right? We want to find the sine of theta over 2, so I'm just going to write that down first, right? The sine of theta over 2. Now, this is a half-angle formula, right? So the half-angle formula for sine is going to be plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of theta over 2. So what does this mean? It means that we need to find the cosine of theta, right? Because that's the formula. So how are we going to find cosine of theta? Well, we know that the sine of theta is equal to 2/3, and we know that this angle is in quadrant 2, right? So there's quadrant 2, there's a triangle. Sine of theta is y over r, or opposite over hypotenuse. So this should be 2, this should be 3, and this should be x right there, right? So we can certainly find x using the Pythagorean theorem. So x squared plus 2 squared is equal to 3 squared. Right? X squared plus 4 is equal to 9. Right? Which then x squared is equal to 5, right? Now notice when we take the square root of both sides, right, we get a plus and minus 5 here. Remember, this does not mean that we have two answers. Right? We have to determine if x is positive or negative or not. And how do we know that? Well, we're in quadrant 2, right, which means that x should be negative, right? So if x is negative, what does that make cosine of theta then? Right? Well, cosine of theta should equal negative radical 5 over 3. And now we know what to plug in here, right? So the sine of theta over 2 then should equal, okay, what about the plus or minus? Remember, it's not both, right? We have to decide or figure out if the answer is positive or negative or not. Well, if this angle is in quadrant 2, then half of this angle, whatever it is, should be in quadrant 1. Right, and the sign should be positive, right? So we're going to have a positive result here. Okay? So the square root of 1 minus cosine of theta, but cosine of theta is equal to negative rad 5 over 3, and all of this over 2. Okay? So we can clean this up just a little bit, right? We get 1 plus radical 5 over 3, and all of this over 2. Okay, now we can do a little bit more here, right? I mean, technically this is fine. It's not wrong per se, right? But we can just combine these like terms. Right? So we notice we have a 3 on this denominator. So this 1, we can rewrite that as 3 over 3. Okay, so that means we can combine that, right? So we can combine that into 3 plus radical 5 all over 3. Okay? And then all of that is still over 2, still under the square root. Now dividing by 2, right? We're dividing by this 2, which is the same as multiplying by 1/2, okay? So that 2 and the 3 actually multiplies together, so we get 3 plus radical 5 all over 6, okay? And we can leave that as the final answer.